Basically, the report reflects the developmental objective of the bank. As you know, we are a development bank, and it's also captured in the name of the bank, Development Bank of Namibia. So what we try to do is to show that despite difficult economic environment, we are also having a big developmental impact. One of the key developmental challenges that Namibia has is unemployment. So we are demonstrating that we have been able to create at least about 3,500 jobs during the past financial year. But over the existence of the bank since 20 years ago, we were able to create almost close to 75,000 jobs. And these jobs have been across sectors and also across age groups, and it has really made an impact in lives of people.
What would you say are some of the key highlights contained in the 2023-2024 Integrated Annual Report?
Okay, the key highlight for us is that despite the difficult economy, we have managed to return to profits. You might be aware that the past 2 years, the DBN made losses. In fact, in the previous financial year, the losses was as high as 280 million. And we've managed to return to profitability of about 62 million. But we're also saying that we are still struggling with high non-performing loans. But at the same time, despite the high non-performing loans, we know that they are exposed into sectors that were heavily hit by COVID and by hard economic conditions. And although the NPLs are low, we still had a developmental impact in terms of job creation. What we're also saying is that despite the NPLs being high, the bank still is very solid in terms of liquidity and in terms of capital adequacy. So the bank is very stable, but we have been experiencing a harsh economy, and that has impacted on our profitability. But we are glad that we are now returning back to profitability. Why that's important is that if the bank continues to make profit, some of those profits can be plowed back into developmental objectives.
How does the Development Bank of Namibia ensure that its projects are sustainable and aligned with Namibia's long-term development vision?
So when we do planning for the bank, we have a 5-year plan, but also an annual plan. So we try to align our annual plans to the national development plans of Namibia. But also, we are also considering the sustainable development goals of the United Nations. And, sustainability is at the core of the development. It's for this reason that we have adopted what we call a sustainable financing framework. And we've also adopted a ESG framework, which speaks to economic sustainability, social sustainability, and also good governance. In fact, we have a department that specifically monitors some of the big projects according to the ESG principles. So in everything we do, from the onset of when people apply for a loan, or business partner applies for a loan, we already start to look at the sustainability from these 3 perspectives. Is it economically sustainable? Is it financially sustainable? Is it environmentally sustainable? And are there good governance practices?
Yeah.
So this is, in short, what I can say about how we ensure that our projects are sustainable.
Yeah. And what challenges has the Development Bank of Namibia faced in securing funding or managing loans? And how has the bank navigated these challenges?
I think when it comes to funding, we are well funded. We have credit lines with other development finance institutions such as the Africa Development Bank. We also have access to green funding lines with the Development Bank of Germany. So from a funding side, we don't have big challenges. The only key challenge we have on the funding side is that the cost of funding is very high. And one of the reasons why the cost of funding is high is because we must source our funding from the market. We don't get capital injections from the state. In the past, we did get capital injections from the state, but for the past few years, we have not received any state subsidies. So because of that, and also because of the high NPLs that we have, when we source for funding, we find that the cost of the funding is often quite pricey, and that's a challenge because if our cost of funding is high, then we also pass that high cost of funding on to our customers.
Yeah.
So that's one of the challenges that we have faced. Another challenge that we have faced is that on the loan book side is that we're finding it difficult to get good projects that we can fund, in part because the economic conditions are still weak. It's not only the development bank. If you look at the whole financial sector, you will see the uptake and the appetite of businesses to take credit is very low. And it's low because the recovery is not broad-based yet. And many companies are still struggling from the after effects of the economic downturn we had and also the long-term COVID effects. But we are starting to see a gradual change in the picture. The fact that government has given tax relief, the fact that interest rates are coming down, I think that will also entice businesses to take up more credit from financial institutions and hopefully also from the Development Bank of Namibia.
Yeah. In terms of future outlooks, what new financing areas or sectors is DBN looking to explore in the upcoming fiscal year?
What is big for us now, we want to roll out more products for women and for young people. We also want to see if we can change the way we do SME financing. And then we want to look into new sectors that are linked to green industrialization. As you know that one of the big topics in Namibia is green hydrogen. So we don't want necessarily to go into green hydrogen, but we see within the value chain of green hydrogen there could be other opportunities to fund industries that are green and that would like to decarbonize. So we are exploring these sectors. We also want to go more into large infrastructure. In large infrastructure, we look in particular at water infrastructure. As you know, Namibia is drought prone. We're going through one of the worst droughts in our history. And part of the reason why we are struggling with water is also because of the infrastructure that's old, and we need to replace infrastructure so that we are able to catch more water during good rainy seasons, and that we are also able to move the water from where we collect the water to where the water is needed. So we want to go big into the water supply security, but another topic that's important for us is to look at whole rural transformation. It's, you know, there's this divide between urban and rural areas, and banks don't want to lend into rural areas, but we want to say as the Development Bank, we should unlock opportunities for businesses in rural communities, because this is exactly one of the roles of a development bank. It should be to go where it's very risky and where commercial banks wouldn't like to go. So these are some of the new ideas that we have planted into our 5-year strategy and that we will start to roll out gradually.
Yeah.
Before I forgot, another one that's important for us is low-cost housing. We are busy developing a financial product that should cater for ultra-low cost. We are doing that product development together with a French Development Bank, and we hope that within the next few months, 3 to 6 months, we will be able to launch that product for low-cost housing.
And finally, how does the DBN engage with stakeholders, including the public, to ensure transparency and accountability?
Oh, yes, stakeholder engagement is very important for us. We use various platforms to engage our stakeholders. Firstly, when it comes to accountability and transparency, we have just released our annual integrated report, and we had like press releases around it. Apart from that, we issue frequent press releases to update our stakeholders about new developments. We also have targeted interventions where we visit special community and present some of the products of the DBN. So we have a department on marketing and communications that's almost always on the road. They are trying to cover all the regions in the country to disseminate information. We use the opportunity also to latch on to special events. For example, at the Ongudiva Trade Fair, we'll make sure that we are there. For example, if there's an event in the south, like the Crayfish Festival or the Zambezi Bream Festival, then we send teams to make use of those events to spread and to disseminate information about the Development Bank of Namibia. We are also quite active on the social media channels. We have a Facebook account, an Instagram account, and also on the LinkedIn. And I would say almost sometimes on a daily basis, we post information, especially on social media, about activities that are taking place at the DBN. So stakeholders are very, very important for us. We also go out at special invitations to present the products of the DBN. So I would really welcome the public to reach out to the DBN if they want more information. They can contact the DBN. They can even contact me directly, and we'll find a way to provide the information required.